Hey guys, welcome to the YouTube channel. Today I want to talk about why Blu-ray still exists. And to understand why Blu-ray still exists, we need to look at the DVD. Because DVD is seen as a collector thing now. It's not seen so much as, oh, it's the way to watch movies. Everyone knows streaming's there. Everyone knows that streaming has basically replaced the home media market. But when you want a physical representation of a movie you love, a movie you like to watch, a movie that you go to over and over and over again, you might not want to pay a recurring fee to access that movie. So this is where DVD has stepped in, and it's a low-end format, so it is locked to SD. But for a lot of people, they're just like, okay, I'm mostly going to be watching it on streaming when I can. If it's not on streaming, then I'll have this copy available. But what happens if you want a better representation of that movie? A high-definition transfer? That's where Blu-ray steps in. And Blu-ray really fills the market of, okay, let's grab the Sapphires off the shelf here. Let's give Just Malboy a bit of publicity. Sapphires, great movie, by the way. But, you might want a HD transfer of that movie. And for a lot of people, HD is enough, because a lot of people still have HD TVs. Even though 4K has been in the market for a while, you have to think of HD as something that only really came into the world and most people were adopting in about 2006, 2008 and stuff like that from there. And then before too long, 4K replaced it. So a lot of people had just upgraded with their new shiny HD TVs and they were being told that, oh, there's this new format. A lot of people stuck with 1080p and stuck with high definition. So Blu-ray for those people will work. Now, what if you've upgraded to a 4K like screen? Then yes, you have the 4K Blu-ray option, but also, if you get the right player, it upscales it pretty well. So also, you have to look at cost. DVD is the cheapest by far to get into, but in a high definition that will suit your TV, Blu-ray is the way to go. And you can get into Blu-ray pretty cheaply. Let's say I wanted the Sapphires. They would have printed hundreds of thousands of these back in the day when this was in its heyday, when it was everywhere. This would have probably 100,000, 200, 300, maybe even 1,000,000 copies out there. You could probably get this pretty cheap for like $2 secondhand somewhere. Whereas if you're going into like a JB Hi-Fi or whatever, you might have to pay, I don't know, maybe 10 bucks for it. So, there's a big difference in cost. Even that 10 bucks is cheap. Compared to the new 4K transfers where, might go into JB Hi-Fi or somewhere and get the Batman brand new, that could set you back like 20, 30, sometimes $40. So DVD is more for the cautious collector. It's more for the, I don't want standard definition because I want something that looks good on my modern screen, but I don't necessarily want to spend so much on 4K. And I will be doing a separate 4K video, so if you're interested in that, I will talk about 4K at a certain point. But for Blu-ray, I think Blu-ray really shows its benefit for price of entry. You can get them very cheap if you're buying secondhand. It also doesn't scratch as easy. So I have seen Blu-rays basically abused really badly, like put face down, all this stuff and so on, and they will not scratch. Like, yeah, if you mishandle them enough, everything has a breaking point. But Blu-ray holds up very surprisingly well. And that's why a lot of collectors can get into it. It's like, okay, I don't have to go and check every scratch on the disc like DVD. But also, I don't have to pay a huge amount like 4K Blu-ray. It's that middle ground. And people who say, oh, but what about VHS? VHS is a different topic because VHS is becoming collectible and it's also lower definition than SD even. I think it's locked to 480 in some cases. For Australia, it would be 576, so it would be the same as Blu-ray, as DVD, sorry. But, this is what I'm talking about. Like, for most people, Blu-ray is good enough. And it upscales good enough for a modern TV even. Like, if you have a 4K TV, most people aren't going to have high-end OLEDs or this. Most people are going to get the cheapest 4K that they can find. And those are going to not be the best representation of what a movie should look like on 4K or whatever. So most people just don't care. And Blu-ray is good enough. So Blu-ray exists because of the price point. It is cheap. It's durable. And also, this is the other thing. It's just got a really good catalogue of movies. With 4K, we're seeing more 4K movies get released and ported across and so on. But we still have a portion of the catalogue that Blu-ray has. And likewise, Blu-ray and 4K have a small portion of the catalog that DVD and VHS had. So you have to look at it as, okay, for most people, the catalog is there on Blu-ray. You can get just about every movie you can possibly imagine on Blu-ray these days. At least within reason. I think the niche movies are still a bit of trouble. Like, some just skip over that and go straight to 4K. Some don't get remastered and are only stocked to SD quality. But this is what I mean. Like, for the average movie viewer, they can get pretty much all their favorites. Jaws, Terminator, all of these favorite movies, Scarface. Like, they can get all their favorite movies on Blu-ray. And so why would they pay more when they just want something that is there in case they don't want to stream? Or something that they're going to watch over and over again that they don't really necessarily care about, but, it's one of their favorite movies. They just want it there and they want to watch it and they want to pop it in when they're ready. They want to access special features as well. This is something that's not on streaming. Or at least, to the most part, not on streaming. Accessing special features. You can get the making of, you can get director's commentary, all this other stuff is on these formats. And this is why people go back towards DVD and Blu-ray and 4K. It is a experience. It is not everything at your fingertips, something starts auto-playing, and you don't have to think about it because it's literally going to tell you what you want to watch. People don't like being told, oh, we think you're going to like this. So, if you go and buy a Blu-ray, let's say I grab Gallipoli off the shelf here. Great to watch around Anzac Day. One of my favorite Anzac Day movies. If I can get it off the shelf, that is. It's very stuck in there. I am getting it off the shelf because we are getting it out of there. It is coming out. It is very stuck in. When you have shelves like this and a collection as large as this, you kind of have to jam multiples in there. So that's why it's a bit hard to get out. But Gallipoli, great movie. Great Mel Gibson, early Mel Gibson movie. This would have been before, I believe, this would have been after Mad Max, but before Lethal Weapon. So that's the era we're kind of looking at. I think it was 82, if I'm not mistaken. I may be mistaken on that. 81, close enough. But yeah, Gallipoli. I will watch this every Anzac Day, usually. It's something I try to watch around Anzac Day, because it is a great Anzac movie. It's great to watch this. But when it comes to this movie, I want a physical representation of it. It's one of my favorites. I think it's Peter Weir. Was it Peter Weir who directed this? Yeah, it was Peter Weir. And then you also want, I might not want to have a subscription every year recurring just to watch this movie each Anzac Day. I might want to say, okay, I don't want to watch it on Anzac Day. I want to watch it in November or something, Remembrance Day or something. Then it gives you the option, and this is also the thing, I don't have to renew a subscription. I paid once and I own it now. It's something that's on my shelf. And when people say, but you don't own the copyright to that, Jamie, you don't actually own anything. Well, there is a big difference between when a streamer can come into your collection and say, okay, you purchased this, but that movie is not available. We've lost the license, so we're just going to have to take that off you. But you have paid and enjoyed it, so we can't actually give you a refund, which is what happened to me with Spider-Man 2 on my Apple subscription and also the Equalizer 2. So it can happen. People are also finding this out on PlayStation with the Discovery content, that it can be told that they're going to lose it, but obviously that was reverted. But this is what I mean. It's very hard for a company to come to me and say, Jamie, we don't have the license to print this copy. Who print this? Like 20th Century Fox. That was made by Fox. Fox doesn't exist anymore. It's actually merged into Disney. It's actually 20th Century Studios. So, if Disney came to me and said, Jamie, you can't have Gallipoli anymore. We're going to have to take that off your shelf. To quote Charlton Heston, I've done this in a few videos, from my cold, dead hands. And yes, people will say, piracy. Why wouldn't you just put it on a hard drive? You're going to access it once a year. Put it on a hard drive. Well, I like the physical representation of the cover. I like the physical representation of the discs. This is the thing I like. The presentation of the experience is as important to me as the content on the disc. Like, yes, having it on a hard drive, yes, you can have it very similar to a streaming service. But the experience of holding a cover and looking at Mel Gibson and Mark Lee on the cover and seeing filmed by Peter Weir and turning to the cover and reading what the special features are, this is part of what brought me back to the video days. And, going to the video stores, renting, picking up your 5 weeklies for $7 or 7 weeklies for $10 and keeping them for a week and experiencing movies. Now, with DVD and Blu-ray as well, you can pretty much keep your movies these days. You don't have to return them. And if you're buying secondhand, you can get a Blu-ray for like $2. So yes, it's a bit more expensive than if you were going to a video shop back in the day. But you're also getting to keep it. You don't have to return it. It is the happy medium to where you can have the best quality, or one of the best qualities in Blu-ray. It's the middle child. Blu-ray, I say, is the middle child. It's kind of not the bottom end like DVD, but it's also not the top end like 4K. But you can have pretty much all your favorite movies and have a physical representation. They're available, but also you get them pretty cheap. And this is what I'm talking about. Like, Blu-ray still exists because it's so cheap now. And secondhand, like if you're buying brand new, it's a bit more expensive. But even brand new, you can get like brand new copies of Blu-rays at JB or wherever for like $10. You know, even sometimes I see them as low as $6 or $5. You know. So there are situations where you can get a pretty good collection of your favorites for maybe under 500. Like, that is a good deal. Whereas if you're going 4K to get all your favorites, you might be paying thousands. You know. And this is why Blu-ray still exists, because it is very accessible. It is something that's widely adapted. It's something that was in the PlayStation 3, was in the PS4, was in the Xbox One. You know, these were everything for a decade. And now we've went to 4K. Yes, UHD has kind of come in and taken over. But Blu-ray on the secondhand market is still very accessible. As I mentioned, that catalog, you can get all your favorites on Blu-ray for a pretty good amount of money. It's a pretty decent amount for most collectors who just want something there to complement their favorites, not to have a rival to streaming. That's why Blu-ray still exists. That's why it's surviving. And that's why it's going to continue to thrive in 2025, 2026, 2027, and so on. Because it is something that's a physical representation, but also it's just fun to collect. Like, as I said, the experience of grabbing something off your shelf and going, you know what, I want to watch. Let's have a look here. What's something I want to watch? Let's have a look here. I haven't seen Last Temptation of the Christ for a very long time. I probably am due to watch that one again. Very good movie, Willem Dafoe, Martin Scorsese film. You know, I might want to watch that. And I haven't opened this one, but it's Criterion. Part of the experience is opening this, and there would be little things inside because this is a Criterion copy. But, you know, the experience of having this is fun to collect. It's something that I'm like, yeah, I want that in my collection. I want a film like that in my collection. And likewise, it's also really cool to preserve film history. Because as we've seen in recent years, the world has went in this sort of way of like, oh, well, if it doesn't suit modern stances in the world, then we're going to edit it and alter movies of the past. We've seen that with Gone with the Wind. Like, Gone with the Wind was pulled off streaming services because of its depiction of, you know, issues of that time. You know, obviously slavery was a big part of that issue. You know, it's something that, you know, Gone with the Wind is a product of its time. But also, I don't believe that means the film should be erased from history. Likewise, I believe this should be promoted and shown like everywhere so we understand not to go back to it. Like, we want to understand where the world came from. We want to understand how the world is today compared to then. And that's why I think this is important. Having a copy of this is important and preserves it from whatever the studio decide is the modern thing of the day, like caving to pressure from people on the internet saying, oh, well, that depicts this, you should erase it from history. No, you should keep it there and show it more often, put a disclaimer in it, but keep it available because it will let people know what the world was like only 50, 60, 80 odd years ago, you know? One of my favorite movies here, where is it? To Kill a Mockingbird. Like, that is a really good thing that happened many times over the decades of people getting falsely accused, men of color and so on, being falsely accused of crimes they didn't commit. And this is a very, very good movie around, you know, Atticus is something of a hero in this movie because he's defending a innocent black man. But, you know, as it plays out, you see more things happen. And this is a very interesting movie. A lot of people research this movie. I first learned about this movie in, I believe, year 6, or no, not year 6, maybe year 7 English class. We had to study this movie. This is what I mean. Like, you don't get these experiences from saying, okay, everyone's going to go home and watch Netflix. Back in those days, you would have to say, okay, everyone will go to the library, everyone will go to like the video shop and rent this, or they would wheel in the old TVs, the CRTs, and say, everyone's going to watch a movie today. And it'll be the cool lessons, because whatever. But that was one of the movies I was like, I want to watch this. This is cool. Like, this is really like, this is how cinema should be. But, you know, I went off on a bit of a tangent here. But, as I said, Blu-ray exists for a reason. It's about the experience, but also all the things I mentioned. It is something that most collectors are happy with. And I will do a separate video about 4K, so you 4K collectors, don't worry, I'm not going to knock 4K. We will do why 4K still exists at a certain point. But for right now, thanks for watching. I hope you like, subscribe, drop a comment. Jump down to that Instagram. I'm posting as much as possible on that Instagram. And yeah, check out one of these videos. I'll put a couple over here, and I hope you enjoy these. These are curated. And yeah, thanks for watching. I'll catch you next one. Peace.